In this video, we are going to be talking about how Reiki can help you during your spiritual awakening. If you're not familiar with Reiki, Reiki is a Japanese-based energy healing modality. It is by far the most popular energy healing modality that is out there. It's becoming more mainstream every day, which is very exciting. And if you're going through a spiritual awakening, then I think you should add Reiki into your practice so that you can have a better time through the entire process. My name is Catherine. I'm an energy healer, spiritual coach, and nurse practitioner, and Reiki master. If you want to work with me, you can go to my website at catherineglassman.com, or you can email me at hello@catherineglassman.com. So what is Reiki? Reiki literally translates from Japanese to universal life force energy. There is some debate of where Reiki actually originated from, but the most popular story is that from Mikao Usui. Mikao Usui was a spiritual practitioner in Japan, and to deepen his spiritual practice, he decided to climb up Mount Kurama and fasted and meditated for 21 days straight. The story goes that on the 21st day, where he was starving and confused and dehydrated, out of nowhere, he was struck with Reiki energy. After he came to from this lightning bolt of energy that came from the sky, he found that he was revitalized, he could think clearly, he felt amazing. And the story goes, at least the story that I was told, is that while he was walking down the mountain, he was very excited, he fell and hurt his ankle. And so he goes and grabs his ankle to just kind of rub it, and his ankle started to feel better. And he looked at his hands, and that's when he realized that he was able to heal with his hands. He goes back down to his village and starts sharing people what he was given. He eventually created a center where he could teach people Reiki. This was all in the early 1900s. And later on, there was a big fire that broke out in Tokyo, and a lot of people were injured. So naturally, Mikao Usui went and helped as many people as he could. And because of his amazing work during that fire, the emperor made him an honorary physician. Of course, people in the West heard about this amazing energy healing, and so people traveled to Japan to learn what this was. This is how we have Reiki in the West. Now, typically, when you learn Reiki, you have to learn from a lineage. So I am a Reiki master, so I can trace back who my teacher was, and their teacher, all the way up to Mikao Usui. So during a typical Reiki session, the Reiki practitioner will either put their hands on your physical body or hover them above your body and start giving you Reiki energy. This energy is literally channeled from source frequency straight to the person. And there are different types of Reiki, and there are different symbols that you use, which accomplish different things. But since spiritual energy knows no bounds, then you can actually do it distantly and it will work all the same. So how can Reiki help you during a spiritual awakening? The first thing that it can do is balance your chakras. If you're not familiar with the chakra system, it's basically the energetic system of the human body, or really of any body. So you have the cardiovascular system, you have the nervous system or the gastrointestinal system. Well, you also have an energetic system called the chakra system. This, of course, is more spiritually based. It's not really well known or well accepted in the medical community, but it is widely accepted in the spiritual community. And the chakra system originates from Hinduism. Each chakra represents different body parts and also represents different aspects of your soul, of how your soul is trying to represent itself in the human body. So for example, the root chakra represents security and having a good foundation. So if someone's root chakra is out of balance or blocked, then they may not feel at home, or they may not feel like they belong anywhere, or they may not have a good foundation. And what's funny is that I was actually meditating on this, and I was trying to ask, what example I can give for, using Reiki for chakra balancing. And so they told me root chakra, and, they told me everything that I just told you. And as soon as I had that thought, our new dog let out a big growl. Now, he was sleeping when he did this, but he let out a big growl right when I was thinking this. And as soon as I looked at him, I clearly got the download that his root chakra is actually not balanced right now. And the reason why is because he is a shelter dog. He came into the shelter as a stray. He was there for, I think, about 3 weeks, and then we decided to adopt him. But he is still very new to us, and so he is still kind of getting used to being in our home. I don't think he has realized that this is going to be his forever home now. And so his root chakra is not balanced at this moment. So I probably need to give him Reiki, actually. So the way that Reiki can help is by removing any energetic blocks within that chakra. That way it can make it a little easier to make those positive changes in your life. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that Reiki is going to fix everything in your life, because a lot of these blocks and imbalances can happen based on the person's behaviors and actions. So if my root chakra is blocked or imbalanced because I don't have a steady home, but I don't take any time to actually look for a place or to rent a place, and I just continue to couch surf, then that chakra will just continue to be imbalanced no matter how much Reiki I give it. But Reiki is good because it can clear away that energetic debris, and then that way you can start from a 0 point frequency. I think a lot of people who are going through a spiritual awakening tend to have imbalanced chakras all the time. And a big one I find is the throat chakra. Because they're still kind of in the spiritual closet, they get a little nervous about speaking their truth. They tend to have a blocked throat chakra. So that might manifest as sore throats, maybe clearing your throat often, maybe even having a thyroid issue. Another way that Reiki can help during a spiritual awakening is that Reiki can actually remove negative energy. So people who are going through an awakening are now more sensitive to places and to people and just to energy in general. And so if they're not careful, they can store that negative energy into their auric field and just be walking around with all of this crazy energy and not even knowing about it, and definitely not knowing how to get rid of it. But Reiki is an excellent way of getting rid of any energy that just isn't yours. It's also an excellent way to cut cords as well. The energy just kind of goes over your entire body and your entire aura, and it just severs any cords that may be there. This is great because if you just got done interacting with an energy vampire, maybe, if you give yourself a little bit of Reiki, or if you get a Reiki session, then it can definitely just remove it. The first time I got Reiki, I was kind of in the middle of my awakening and I was very depressed. I was on antidepressants. I just really was in a very dark place. It was the kind of depression where when you wake up, I was just instantly depressed. As soon as I realized my situation and like what was going on in my life, I immediately got sad. And this depression was pretty severe. It was crippling at times. I remember having a very difficult time just getting dressed. I would just stare at the wall, and because I didn't see the point in anything. And I was already on medications. I had a prescription for Xanax. I mean, I was already doing everything that I could think of, but I really, really did not like being in that state, because being in that state can be dangerous. And so I heard about Reiki. I had no idea what it was. I figured I would just give it a shot because it wasn't going to hurt. I had literally had nothing to lose. So I went down to this Reiki center. I didn't know what was going to happen, but basically I think it was just a 30-minute session. And she just kind of hovered her hands over my body at different times, and during the session, I feel like I definitely saw colors behind my eyelids, and I would feel like whooshing. I don't know, just like a weird, it didn't feel like wind in the room, but just like a whoosh of energy, or at least that's how I could describe it at the time. But it was, I mean, in hindsight, it was definitely just energy moving. And then that was that. And then when I was done, I went home, and on my drive back home, I was like, I really hope I didn't just waste a bunch of money, because I don't feel any different. I went to bed, felt the same. But when I woke up the next day, I felt like a completely different person. I wasn't super happy and excited, but I wasn't devastatingly sad anymore, which was a win. I was neutral. That was huge for me. And so, of course, me being the natural skeptic that I am, I went about my day and I was like, no, that's too good to be true. It's probably a placebo, whatever. Depression just doesn't disappear like that. And so the rest of the day, I felt fine. The next day, I felt fine. The weeks later, I felt fine. And that's when I knew that whatever this was the real deal, and I definitely needed to learn how to do it. Of course, over the years, I've learned that I've had a lot of negative attachments attached to me, keeping me in these depressed states. I've learned through my awakening process that myself, naturally am a happy person. Like, I love life. I'm happy to be alive. So when I don't feel that way, it's usually because there's something attached to me. So if you ever feel like you're just sad or feeling like there's negative attachments or psychic attacks, then Reiki can definitely help with that. Another way that Reiki can help during a spiritual awakening is that it can increase your vibration. Now, of course, naturally, if you remove any negative energy from you, then your vibration will probably just elevate anyway. But even if you don't have any negative attachments and you just give yourself Reiki, it leaves you a little bit more open and a little bit more sensitive to be positively influenced by things that can raise your vibration. So if your chakras are balanced, if your aura is clean, then now you are ready to accept positive energy into your life. This is why when you get a Reiki session, you really should be careful and be very gentle with yourself to not expose yourself to the news or anything negative, because you're open and you're sensitive now. So the best thing to do is to do something that you really enjoy, something that just gives you so much happiness. So after a Reiki session, it's amazing to just go on an adventure or catch up with an old friend, do some painting, maybe go hiking, play with the dogs, listen to music, just anything that is really uplifting. And it's fun to do this because you get like this natural high, and it's incredibly euphoric. Every time I would give an energy session to like one of my friends, I'll always call them or text them like the day later just to see how they're doing. And they'll always tell me that for hours, if not maybe a day, they were just full of like fun energy. Now, of course, this isn't going to happen to everyone, but it is fun when it does happen. This is actually vital for me personally because I'm a nurse practitioner in an urgent care, a mobile urgent care. And, when you work in a clinic, it's a pretty controlled setting, and the energy for the most part can stay the same. And at least if I'm in the clinic, I have the ability to give it Reiki or do some energy clearing, things like that, to just maintain a good energy vibration within the clinic. But by going into people's homes, the energy is vastly different between all the homes, and some of them are very low vibrating. And so you better believe that I give myself Reiki every single day, especially after work. I cleanse myself really well, and I just don't think that I would handle that kind of work without it. Another way that Reiki can help you with your spiritual awakening is that it can actually increase the energy frequency of your food. So during a spiritual awakening, most people will develop food sensitivities, or they just may not really like eating certain foods anymore. This is because your frequency is starting to elevate. And that frequency is not a match for other foods that you used to eat all the time. But giving Reiki to your food is very similar to praying over your food. I have found this to be true, especially for animal products. Now, I don't really eat meat. I definitely don't buy it, and I definitely don't order it. I'll eat eggs and I'll eat cheese, but I just feel better that way, and it was just an intuitive decision. Every once in a while, though, my body will ask for it. So I'm not opposed to eating it, but it's very rare. And there was one time where I felt like I needed to eat meat for whatever reason. I think I was feeling weak. I'm not really sure. And my partner made something that had bison meat in it because he eats meat. And I decided to try it. I had just a little bit of it, and I decided to give it Reiki. And I don't normally give my food Reiki, only because I'm usually so hungry that I just eat it and I don't even think about anything. So I really need to get better at that. But I did do it for this particular meal because it had meat in it, and I just don't normally eat meat. So I gave it Reiki for like a good 5 minutes, and then I ate it. Oh my goodness. I had the most amount of energy I feel like I've ever had in my life after eating that. It was crazy. I went to hot yoga and I killed it. I was so good, and I'm really not that great, but I was so good this day. and I was still energized afterwards. And this was like heated yoga too. After heated yoga, I'm usually wiped out and just don't have any energy. But this day, I had all of the energy. And at first, I was like, oh, well, obviously it was because it was the meat, right? The meat gave me energy. And then I remembered that I gave it Reiki. And so now I think it was probably a combination. I'll really never know, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't just the bison meat by itself. I'm pretty sure that the Reiki had a lot to do with the amount of energy that I had that day. But I've actually have heard of similar stories happening to other people. I've heard of a group of travelers going to Vietnam, and some of them did Reiki. The group that did Reiki gave their food Reiki every single day. And there were a few people that didn't do Reiki, so they didn't give their food Reiki. By the end of the trip, which I think it was like a week-long trip, the people that did not give their food Reiki ended up having crazy amounts of diarrhea and just basically just food poisoning from traveling. And the people that gave their food Reiki had no problems. So of course, when I remember to, I will give my food Reiki, and I'll even give my water Reiki as well. Another way that Reiki can help you during your spiritual awakening is that it can actually be a way to connect with like-minded individuals. During my awakening, I went to so many different places looking for answers. I started going to therapy, I went to temples, I went to churches, I was just talking to random people. And it wasn't until I found a Reiki center that I actually connected with people that really resonated with what was going on with me. I am so grateful that I found this Reiki center. I ended up making so many friends, dear friends that I'm still friends with today. Of course, it was this Reiki center where I became a Reiki master. It's like I was able to find my community and not feel so alone. And the beautiful thing about Reiki is that it's becoming more popular and it's becoming more well-known in the mainstream. So more and more Reiki practitioners are coming out of the woodwork, myself included. Reiki is being used in hospitals and in hospice. It's nice because if you speak to a Reiki practitioner and you start talking to them about your spiritual awakening, they're usually probably going to understand every single thing that you're going to tell them. And they're not going to look at you like you're weird or that you're going crazy. Or at least that's been my experience anyway. Currently, Reiki right now is very much in between the physical world and the spiritual world. It's not solely based on scientific proof that it works, even though there is science to prove that it works, but it's not solely based in spirituality either. It's very versatile and it's amazing. And you don't have to be a Reiki master to reap the benefits of Reiki. You don't even have to be a Reiki practitioner at all. Of course, you can go to people and get sessions. You can go on Etsy. You can go on Fiverr. There are so many people out there and in the online community that offer Reiki sessions, myself included. I think for your awakening though, I would recommend at least getting your Reiki 1 certificate just so that you can do the Reiki to yourself. But that's just me and my opinion. I'm very much biased towards energy healing modalities. I truly love them. They have saved me many times. Even with just a Reiki 1 certificate, you can actually open up your own practice. You can give it to your pets. There's just so many benefits to it. But at the end of the day, there are going to be plenty of Reiki practitioners to help you along your journey. So if you need a little bit of help during your awakening journey, then Reiki's got you. I hope you liked the video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Consider subscribing, and I will see you next time.